Hi guys, my name's Kimberly,
I'm Genesis.
and welcome to the podcast episode named Portraits of a Pandemic. Today we'll be talking about the art piece, or rather pieces, of Lexington in the time of COVID-19. So recently I had a situation at work where me and my coworkers brought up how old we were when
Mm-hmm.
the pandemic started.
Yeah.
So obviously, me and you were the same age. We
Yes.
were both eighth graders about to start high
Freshman
school.
year of high
Yeah.
school, yeah.
So it just kind of, I don't know how to
It's
explain it.
like eye opening in a way.
Yeah, it was like eye opening for
Like
me
a
to
reality
yeah,
check.
to see how different everyone's experience was. So for example, we didn't get like the transition from middle school to high school,
No.
but also some of my older coworkers didn't get their graduation.
Mm-hmm.
And then some younger coworkers, which this one was really shocking. One of my coworkers, she's 16, which is only 3 years younger than me.
Yeah.
She was still in elementary school,
That is
which
insane.
was really shocking
Yeah.
to me. Yeah. So COVID started in the springtime of 2020, which at the time I know we both, well, at least most people, thought that it was going to be about 2 weeks off of school.
Yeah, they
And
announced the break and we were all super excited.
yeah, and the truth is that we never went back, but
Literally.
also we never went back to what we were back then,
Yeah.
mentally or anything
It
like
was like a
that.
really big impact on our health
Yeah.
overall.
So, like I said, we'll be talking about the project Lexington during during the time of COVID-19, which it's a bunch of portraits taken on front porches of Lexingtonians. This piece was created by Kurt Grode and Carmina Todorova.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Basically, like I said, they were just photographing people on their front porches during different time events. So in some of these pictures, you'll see people by themselves. You'll see families. You'll even see, like I stated earlier, some graduates that just never got to make it to their graduation.
Which is really sad.
Yeah.
Very sad.
Um, let's see. Basically, this project was to focus on how people, not only how they look through COVID-19, but it kind of shows what they were going through, which was isolation essentially.
Yeah.
And it, in a way, looking at it, it helps us remember what life during the pandemic really felt like. So, again, the isolation, the struggles
Mm-hmm.
that not a lot of people knew about, and some moments that really shaped people.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's get started.
So a few of the main points we're going to talk about today, just to give you a little heads up, are going to be um seeing physical separation being one of the first things in the portraits, people standing apart, streets being empty, and just things like that.
So yeah, like I said it earlier, there are some families standing on their front porches, but it's really clear, and you can see that even though they're there, the front yards are completely empty.
Yeah.
There are some portraits that are taken, including in like downtown Lexington, where there's usually a lot of cars, and even then, it was a
Like
lot of
just
you could
dead.
tell, yeah, you
Yeah.
could tell that nobody was really there.
Yeah.
Good.
A key statistics I want to talk about is a CDC report that in June 2020, 41% of US adults reported struggling with mental health or substance abuse.
So, like we stated earlier, there are a lot of pictures where people are smiling, but that just goes to show that even though they could be smiling, there's a lot of things that these portraits could have hidden. So, like she stated, 41% of US adults reported struggling with mental health and substance use. Um, 31% of adults showed symptoms of anxiety disorder. So this was actually triple the 2019 rate,
Which
which
is
is
crazy.
crazy.
Yeah, that is
So
insane.
clearly the pandemic and the isolation and the time being away from people, because that's something that humans thrive off of.
Yeah, it really is.
So having that taken away so suddenly and for so long,
Really takes a toll on
really,
you.
yeah, really
Yeah.
takes a toll on you and your mental health. And I remember we weren't allowed to go out. Like the only times we really went out were like bike rides or walks,
If that.
if
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, always masked up.
Mm-hmm. Um, another thing that I really noticed in the pictures that I saw were that maybe the people in the photographs looked very cheerful and happy, but I feel like if you really look deep into the photograph, you can see that they were really struggling, even if it was mentally, financially, socially. Like you could just tell that they were not at peace or at their best because they were genuinely scared of what was coming up because COVID was no joke.
Yeah. So, hand in hand with this, an APA report showed that 78% of adults reported that COVID-19 was a major source of stress. So, if we remember correctly, a lot of people got laid off. Kids weren't going to school. So, obviously, they had no childcare for those kids
Mm-hmm.
besides them. Um, on top of that, prices were still increasing. So, obviously, COVID was a major stress factor. And even though again they were smiling in these pictures, there were a lot of external factors that were really taking a toll on them.
Yeah.
Aside from this, 36% of people said that COVID-19 seriously impacted their mental health long term, according to the same report. So it goes hand in hand with the whole mental health and COVID-19 thing. It
Yeah.
just goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
So essentially for these portraits, um the porch for these families became like a stage um where the photographers went and took pictures. So it captured smiles obviously on the stage, but
Yeah.
nobody knew deep down what they were going through because
Yeah.
obviously, we were all isolated.
Yes.
So will you bring us to our third point?
When you view all the portraits together, you kind of see like a collective story, not just like one individual story. So the photographer, I think, did this intentionally to kind of make a story without adding many words. And all the photographs kind of go hand in hand with each other, showing people outside the porch or kind of just sitting and pondering and somber and just kind of looking, I want to say, uneasy about the whole situation at the time because we acted like we were okay, but genuinely you were always scared to what was happening next. New cases were coming up every day, new deaths, new laws, requirements to stay inside, lockdown, quarantine, all that. So I think the photographer really took in mind what pictures he, I want to say, posted or published to make it make sense in a way.
Another really big point that I want to make here is how, in times of isolation, there were still points in which we had moments of community. So essentially, communities had to exist at a distance.
Yeah.
So one thing that was very major during this time was the Black Lives Matter movement.
Yes.
And while it was hard to show the community part and support for this, in a lot of the portraits you could see people standing next to Black Lives Matter signs or just showing their support doing the BLM movement.
Yeah.
um so that you could easily see like the sense of community through the whole point of isolation. Like we
Yeah.
were all separated but we were still together in a
Yes.
sense.
Which I think was also very crazy how COVID-19 was happening at the same time about during this BLM movement, which not to say that racism wasn't happening before already, but it was just getting published a lot more
Yeah, it was
during
very
this
eye
time.
opening.
So people were scared. People were genuinely really, really scared.
Yeah. So essentially, this project captured a lot of the community through isolation part, but also in a sense like resilience. And like I said, looking at these pictures, you can see a deeper meaning to them.
Yeah.
Um, it really reminds us every day or when we look at these pictures of what it was like. So I'm very big on nostalgia and just
Yeah.
looking at that you can see especially the kids in their graduation caps.
Of
Like
course,
I
yes.
remember.
That's very heartfelt.
Yeah. Okay.
So to kind of leave us off on a good note, not a good note, but like a closing note, emotional memory matters just as much as headlines. These portraits really helped future generations understand what life was like during COVID, especially for the younger kids that were born, I want to say 2022, 2023. They never really experienced what was going on during that. So I think this is very important. And it's also good to never forget this because this is something that a lot of people really struggled with, but somehow, some way, we managed to get through it,
Yeah.
thankfully. But it's always important to realize that smiles don't always mean that everything is okay.
Yeah. And like we stated earlier, it did have very lasting impacts on all of us, whether it was mentally or just in life outcomes in general. A lot of
Yeah.
people lost people.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, thank you for tuning into this
Thank you for
episode
listening.
and talking about portraits. Whoa, portraits throughout the pandemic.